All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 313 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. Eagle Nation, this episode is for you. I have been doing so much when it comes to Atlanta Falcons football with all the turmoil that has been happening and everything that's been going on with that team. I have not, and I should have done this earlier, I have not taken the time to talk about the spring practice press conference and my thoughts of spring practice. So what I want to do now, I want to give you a recap of the spring practice press conferences from all four of the coaches that did a press conference. I'm going to give you my opinion, and I took some notes. I watched all of the press conference. I'm going to give you my opinion and what I think about everything under that umbrella. If this is your first time here, welcome to the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football once again. Welcome. If you don't mind, as you walk in the door to listen to what I have to say, hit the like button, share this content, subscribe to the channel, especially if you're interested in this content, because every day at 9 a.m. I try my best to give you the best content possible. I'm also on Rumble. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Rumble, if you're listening to this on YouTube, I'm also on Rumble. And if you're on Rumble, I'm also on YouTube. So that's how it goes on that end. Now, if you want to listen to the audio side of things, I am on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So you can listen to me at your leisure anytime you get ready. And also, at the end of the day, if you really, really like this content, you're passionate about this content, and you want to support this content a little further, all the links down below to donate is right down there. So thank you just for showing up. That just goes a long way. Let your friends know what I'm doing over here. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. Georgia Southern 2022 spring practice has started. It's so exciting. So football is going on. I took some notes from every press conference that they had of these four great guys. I'm going to talk about those, and I'm going to give you a final thought on all of this. Just to begin to start off, I'm going to start off with Coach Helton. And man, before I start with Coach, I want to say that we are very, very, very fortunate to have what we have here at Georgia Southern. This could have been a disaster after a 3-9 season. This staff that Coach Helton put together and what he's bringing to the table is phenomenal. We couldn't ask for anything better. We are spoiled beyond belief based on everything that has happened to us at Georgia Southern from this whole program being revitalized in the 80s. We really are. And hopefully people will get to see that and appreciate this as it's going on. Coach Helton started off, biggest changes that he wanted to do with this organization or this program is accountability. It's one of the things that he talked about. One of the first things he wanted to get out there is he wants accountability of his players. And that's a big bulletin point for him. Want these guys to go out there and play as hard as they want to, as hard as they can, not as hard as they want to, hard as their ability, and want them to play at the highest level, but they want them to be accountable for what they do and don't do. That's just the main thing with the beginning stages of what he wants to bring to the table. As far as quarterbacks go, he said he wants the quarterback to be the face of the Eagles and also able to be productive on the field. So that goes as a double-edged sword. He wants them to be the face of the Eagles, so he wants them to be a stand-up person off the field, but they want them to be productive on the field. So that goes back to the accountability thing that he's been talking about. Also, from what I take from this, the practices are going to be on every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday as far as the spring practice. He wants to maximize every opportunity and wants the practices to be intense as possible with physical, and they want them to learn, and they want that. So with that being said, they want them to be very physical and want them to be learning a lot. So they want them to have high intelligence as they go on with getting this program together. They want them to be better every day. And that's another thing that he taught, another thing that he wanted to put out there in the forefront. He did talk about a few players, and I want to get into that because that's pretty much the first half of his press conference. The second half basically talked about the players. Talked about Justin Tomlin, and I want to word this as simple as possible and straightforward as possible. So you kind of get the gist of what he was saying without necessarily, saying it or whatever. So basically, what he wanted to do, or what he said was, they had an honest conversation with Justin Tomlin about his status on the team and where they're going. You know what that's code word for, and I don't want to get too negative, but you know what that's code word for. If you have an honest conversation about what he's doing, the good thing about it is he's still going to be able to graduate at Georgia Southern, and that's a phenomenal thing, because in some cases, if you get moved off the team, sometimes they, in some cases they will remove you from the school as well. So he's going to be able to graduate. So that's pretty cool. But the honest conversation is something that we at Eagle Nation kind of saw the writing on the wall last year in the middle of the season, what Justin Tomlin was able to do and the things that he was not able to do. I think he's a phenomenal talent. Unfortunately, in my opinion, after the injury that he had against Appalachian State, when we were dominating that game per se, after we were dominating that game, we was up like 14-0, and he goes down with the ankle injury. After that game, he hasn't been the same. And it's really unfortunate because, injuries can take a toll on players, not just in the physical. I don't know if it's anything outside of physical, but you can clearly tell that he's regressed since that game. So that's basically what happened with him. Another player, Eldrick Robinson, made the personal decision to enter the transfer portal. Coach Helton was asked about that, and he respected the decision, and he wants him to be the best he can be wherever he goes. I think Eldrick Robinson was a phenomenal player as a freshman, and I felt that he could have been one of the great Georgia Southern Eagles that come through the school if you'd have stayed all those 3 or 4 years. I did a GS spotlight on him on this channel a while back, which I really, I really appreciated the fact that he stepped up in the midst of all the injuries that we had at linebacker. And it hate to see him go, but like I said, Coach Helton respected his decision. I respect his decision, and he also understands there's a give and take with the transfer portal. You lose some players like Eldrick Robinson, but you gain other players like a Christian Varner. So it is a give and take. He also said there's still spots available on the transfer for players in the transfer for the transfer portal, so they can get more players if need be. He feels that they're going to be more players available after spring practice. Depends on what other coaches at other schools feel about certain players. So just be on the lookout for that. Overall, he likes the talent on offense. He likes the way they're developing, and he's very thankful that we have all these veterans coming back, the Bradley Glenns, the Justin Ellis, the Dylan Springers of the world. He really loves the fact that they're here because it bridges a gap between what the tradition of Georgia Southern is to what these new guys coming in and them learning the tradition. It bridges a gap. It really helps the coaching staff do more with more personnel, basically. Some players can see the tradition of Georgia Southern through a player's eyes instead of the coach's eyes. You also have to understand, outside of Coach Whitley, none of these coaches really was entrenched in what Georgia Southern tradition was. They're learning it on the fly too. So it really helps that you have these 5th, 6th, and 7th year seniors, I guess you want to call them that, seniors, on the team. So it really helps. So that was pretty much the gist of Clay Helton's press conference. I'm going to jump over to offensive coordinator Ellis. I can't remember his first name. Please respect my mind. I'll forget. I'm not good with names. Ellis said he believes in Georgia Southern and Coach Clay Helton. It's one of the reasons why he came to the school. He loves the way what the running backs are doing. He feels like there's a lot of work that need to be done because they're implementing a new scheme. And these running backs are talented. Our guys on the outside could really say like, oh, J.D. King, Jalen White, Gerald Green, they're phenomenal athletes. They can run the ball better than anybody. But we also have to understand, those guys ran the ball under a totally different system than what they're running now. So there's a lot to learn. A lot of stuff is mental. So he loves the fact that they put in the work to be better. And he said he'll put this running back group up against any other group in the country. Now, if you really think about that, that's not as far-fetched as you think. Because if you look across the entire country, You may see one, maybe two running backs. If you're lucky, three running backs on the squad on a team that can be really productive. And I'm talking about from FCS all the way up to the big powerhouses like Alabama or Georgia. You may have that group where you have like three running backs that are good. Legitimately, Georgia Southern has like five. You know what I mean? You got J.D. King, you got Jalen White, you got Gerald Green. You got I was gonna say Dalen Cobb, but he's the athlete. You got the guy that's coming from Florida. You got Omar Caspi. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of guys here that can run the ball. So it's not as far fetched. You got five guys that's ready to go. And there was a question about how many running backs you're going to use on the field at a certain time. You know, Ellis already said, look, he'll use the best 11 guys on the field, no matter if it's two or three running backs at a time. The main thing to them is to score points. So with that being said, if it takes to use that many running backs to score points, that's what's going to happen. The O-line was an issue last year with a lot of false starts, some holding calls, or whatever the case may be. They also asked him how they're going to address that. He basically said that they felt like they hired the best offensive line coach in America. And they have the talent, and they're going to build them up from what they know and move all bad habits and bring in new habits and have them to be the best they can be. A lot of guys are gaining weight through the weight training. Shout out to Steiner, the strength and conditioning coach. But he says he got these guys ready to go, and they're going to continue to push them to be ready to be on the offensive line. And it's the way to do that, not just with the offensive line, but with QBs and everybody on offense, they're trying their best to simulate game day in practice. It's another thing that he talked about. They want to simulate game day situations in practice and want them to deal with and overcome adversity that they may see in a real game. Now, one thing that I want to talk about now, Coach Helton said he wanted the quarterback to be face of the Eagles. Ellis took it a step further. Ellis said he's been impressed with all the quarterbacks, but haven't seen. I want you guys to hear me out. Listen to this. He said he's been impressed with all the QBs, but haven't seen a kid work as hard as Cam Ransom. That's special. We knew Cam Ransom was special, and even with all these quarterbacks in here and everything that's going on with Van Treese, the David Dallases, Zach Roseman, Connor Sogelski, from what I mean, this is one player that he didn't talk about any other player. He talked about like J.D. King and Amari Jones, getting some weight on him or whatever. He's been talking about that, but he hasn't talked about a specific player like he talked about Cam Ransom. He said he haven't seen a kid work as hard as Cam Ransom, and that says a lot in a press conference. You point a kid out in a positive light like that. Just keep that tidbit up there when you're thinking about the quarterbacks. Because I always thought Cam Ransom was good. Connor Sogelski did surprise me last year with some of the things that he's doing. And some people got at my neck. They went at my neck and said, oh, you were high about Cam Ransom. But, hey, look, it's okay to be high on both on as many players as you want. I'm not going to sit here and deny nobody's talent. Sogelski has talent. But Cam Ransom, I've always seen Cam Ransom like as a different breed ever since we got him from Lakewood, Florida. I mean, I talked about him extensively. I did videos on him. I talked about him when we first recruited him and got him committed. Don't be surprised if he ends up being a starter. I'll just leave it at that. They want to install everything that he wants to install everything to these quarterbacks and everybody on offense. Or offensively, he wants them to know everything. So there's nothing that's going to hold back as far as what they're going to learn in practice, what they're going to learn preseason, what they're going to learn throughout the season. And at the end of the day, he wants to have one starter at QB, but he wants the other guys ready because injuries happen. Anything can happen where the quarterback can't go, or it could be a situation where the guys just get better because they're ready to go. They can end up just being better in practice throughout the year. So I found that very interesting, with Ellis in the offense, because the offense is a big deal at Georgia Southern, because a lot of people don't know what kind of offense we're running. We know we're getting away from the option game. So that is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing at Georgia Southern, what the offense is going to look like. Because the defense, that's just, the defensive scheme is just going to be the defensive scheme. And I don't think defense was really that big of an issue the last few years outside of a few injuries with Tyler Bride and Canteen or whatever the case may be. Before I get into the defense, I want to talk about Coach West, special teams coach, and how much he thinks highly of Anthony Beck. He thinks Anthony Beck is a good leader. He's a great leader. He feels like he's a player's coach, and he just feels like he said he has like this aura or this moxie about him that he feels like he's a quarterback playing punter. It's kind of hard to explain how he said it. That's just like what I took from that. He also said there's gonna be an open competition for all special team players. So, what's his name? Alex Rayner, Brenton Williams, and all the other guys. They're going to be in deep competition. Now, personally, I don't have nothing against Rayner. I said this before, but I'm a big fan of Brenton Williams. I'm a big fan of him. So just something to put out there. Just look into that down the road. He also explained and said that kicking was like golfing. I found that really interesting. That I don't want to go too far into that, but I kind of understand where, ball trajectories, spin and hooking and hook the ball in. I kind of get it. But one fun fact before I get into Coach Will Harris, the defensive coach, what I want to get into next, he was close with Coach West was close with Coach Ellis, so they have some history. So that just goes back to the type of the camaraderie that Coach Helton is creating. Guys that kind of knew each other. Clay Helton known Coach Harris and all the other guys that was on his staff or they worked together before. I'm telling you, we are very, very fortunate to have a team like this that is at the coaching helm. I feel like we probably got the best coaching staff in the Sun Belt. Now, I don't think that's up for debate, but we'll get to that when we cross that bridge or get to that bridge. Coach Will Harris was the former cornerbacks coach at Washington, and I find him probably be the most fascinating guy that we're bringing in here, because this guy was a part of a top 5, top 4 team at Washington. He put a pretty good defense together at the secondary, and a lot of those guys are probably going to be going in the NFL. They're not probably. They will be going to the NFL draft, and you cannot ask for a better defensive back coach turned defensive coordinator right now at Georgia Southern. I mean, we knocked it out of the park with him too, in my opinion. And I notice a lot of people saying this, like we haven't seen them play a lick of ball yet. But you look at these guys' resume, it's hard to dispute that. So Harris said he realized he has great guys here, but the main thing is no matter how much their talent is and how well they understand the game, he wants them to continuously always focus on detail. And because you're here at Georgia Southern, he felt like there's no difference or drop off in talent. The guys here at Georgia Southern are just as good as the guys he had at Washington. And it's good to implement that so these guys don't feel intimidated like, okay, I got to live up to expectation. No, he's like, you're already there. You don't have to live up to any expectation. You're already there. Just go out there and listen to pay attention to detail and communicate, which I'll get to the communication part in a second, and be your best. You're already there. And you love coaches that think like that. One thing he also said that he's big on film study. He loves the fact that he has guys already in the film that's watching. And to be honest with you, when you look at college, you don't hear much about that. You know what happens, but when you hear about film study, you mostly think about the NFL. Quarterbacks going to watch the film on Tuesday. You kind of know how that goes, but it's good to see that as a defensive coach, he's already has them out there looking at film. He's telling them what he sees compared to what they see. They have to understand what's going on offense, so they watch the film. And he broke down tapes of themselves playing and players when he was at Washington. So they're getting all of that information from a Power 5 school to a Group of 5 school. And even though these guys are Group 5, I don't think that doesn't diminish their talent. I think they're still good at playing anywhere in the country. And Coach Will Harris really, let them know that. He can't wait to work with Derek Canteen. I don't blame him. I'm pretty sure Derek Canteen name ranked all over the country the year they had the league, the NFL. Oh man, NFL. I'll talk about that in a second. The FBS leading. He left the FBS in interception. So I know he really wants to get more implement. I guess I said that right. I don't know. He wants to implement himself more to get Derek Canteen to understand, how he works and how he can get better. He thinks very highly of Dylan Springer, and that just goes back to the fifth, sixth, and seventh year guys that are coming back to help and win some football games. So he thinks Dylan Springer has that attitude. Bradley Glenn the same way. Justin Ellis the same way. He's happy that these guys are here to keep the culture going from what Georgia Southern is about up into going back to the players that are coming in. Coach Helton said the same thing. He loves the fact that those guys are there because there's a bridge that goes between the two. And that's awesome. And the media asked him what lured him to Georgia Southern, and he said the tradition of Georgia Southern, thinking about Irk Russell and everything that the championships and all this and the things that they were able to do, and also having a relationship with Coach Helton. And last but not least, I would be remiss if I wouldn't talk about this. He said he didn't know Coach Whitley, but he got the chance to talk to him. And as soon as they started talking, he knew that it was going to work out. And that's one of the great things to wrap this up for the most part. It's really good to see a guy like Coach Whitley, a guy who played under Irk Russell, who won national titles under a national title under Irk Russell, came around, went throughout the state of Georgia, high school football coach, and had success at that level, come down here and was able to watch everything unfold and was able to put him in a situation that was really tough for him. And I love the fact that Coach Helton did him a solid and kept him on the staff. And not only that, with Coach Whitley and a guy like Will Harris together, knowing the information that Coach Whitley knows about the state of Georgia, with a guy like Will Harris that is willing to, not just willing, but he's capable of pulling top tier talent and getting those guys to be the best they can be, untapping talent that they don't have. Those two guys together, that's a beautiful thing. That's awesome to see that at the end of the day. And I'm very proud that we have this staff here. I think we're going to be very special throughout this whole ordeal. And I know a lot of people looked at Georgia Southern a certain way, and they were saying that, this is not going to work out. The coach here is a retread of his failures at USC. Why do we have him here? He's going to ruin the program. Listen, man, I don't know about y'all, but I'm taking a shot on this. I've been going in all in with Georgia Southern since the late 80s. I'm not going to stop now. People can say what they want about this coaching staff. They can say what they want about this team. They can talk about all the shenanigans that happened last year, all the losses of players and football games. You can say all you want. I'm still going to be here, and I love what I see right now. This is something really good brewing in Statesboro, and I'm going to be here for it. I'm going to love every bit of it, and I hope it turns into some form of success. I already said on record, I think this team can win 8 games with what they have, but with this staff, and you got a staff like this, and we haven't even talked about Ryan Applin or the offensive line coach. We haven't talked much about the strength and conditioning coach and the nutritionists that are helping these guys get bulk up muscle. And the linebackers, because we haven't talked about those guys. We're very fortunate, and I think a lot of people start to turn around and see that at the end of the season, and they don't think that this is some type of PR stunt for Coach Helton. I believe Coach Helton is very serious about turning this team into a national powerhouse. And when you got Power 5 players, not Power 5, when you have a group of 5 players with Power 5 coaches, those guys can play at a Power 5 level in the Sun Belt. Everybody who's in the Sun Belt right now, y'all better take notice. These guys here aren't playing around. These guys are here to win football games. And whatever y'all had going on in the Sun Belt with the coaches that y'all have, I feel like we have the best coach in the Sun Belt. I feel like we have the best staff in the Sun Belt. And all they have to do is put it together for these players and teach it to them and show them with the detail, the discipline, and showing their ability to be the best. I can't wait to see this happen. If you like this content, hit the like button, share this content, subscribe to the channels if you haven't already, YouTube or Rumble. Subscribe to all these podcast avenues, Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google. Go ahead. Give me a 5-star rating on that Apple Podcast rating. All these other ratings that they have at these other podcast areas, give me a high rating. Let people know what I'm doing over here. The higher the rating, the more eyes will get on here. And the more eyes get on here is the more dialogue that you can have with fellow Eagles or even guys who are dissenting and don't like the Eagles or Falcons. You can talk to them in the comment section of this video or even on the premiere when I do premieres. You guys are making this go, and I really appreciate it. And, you know, Friday I'll be back with another episode. No telling what we'll be talking about as far as Falcons at Georgia Southern, but it's going to be something under that umbrella. Also, at the end of the day, if you don't mind, if you want to donate, you can click any of those links in the description. And that will be awesome either way. But I thank you for making it this far. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you guys on Friday. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy. Y'all be blessed. Peace.